Hi, Mitch Chatterbaum here. Thanks for joining me today for this week's Security News Update. In the Security and Privacy Alerts section, Fortinet is under attack again. This is an example, we believe, of a vendor who didn't do a great job of patching a bug. They patched a bug that was rated 9.8 out of 10 in February, but it looks like the hackers have figured out a way around it. We see this a lot with vendors where someone says, "Oh, look what I'm able to do." And they go off and put a Band-Aid on it, when in fact, it really needs like major surgery. And I think that's probably what happened with Fortinet. The hackers figured out a way to get around the Band-Aid. And so now they're attacking it again. Fortinet is also facing another zero-day vulnerability that's so new it does not have a vulnerability number yet, a CVE number. And they did release a customer advisory, I guess, to select customers, because I haven't seen it, that was labeled TLP Amber plus strict, which means that there's very limited distribution of it. And even the normal sources where I get these alerts, I haven't seen it. So, and it tells customers to make specific configuration changes. I'm guessing they're labeling it that way because they don't want the bad guys to see what it is Fortinet is telling people to do before they actually have some patches that actually fix the problem. So if you're a Fortinet customer, expect to see some patches, hopefully this week. Next, hackers are targeting Google. Gee, that's not unusual, right? So this time it's Google Meet, their video conferencing platform. And what they're doing is they're presenting a screen that looks like a legitimate Google Meet screen, but it's got a click to fix button. And if you click on it, you will definitely be fixed, but not in a way that you would like. So don't fall for that one. In the reference department, the Department of Justice, every about 12 to 18 months, releases an update of what they call their evaluation of corporate compliance programs guidance, meaning this is what the DOJ uses to evaluate corporate compliance. Sometimes there's a big yawn. This time, there seems to be a lot of emphasis on technology, on risk assessments, on AI. So if you're someone who might possibly be in the crosshairs of the DOJ, now would be a good time to kind of upgrade your risk assessment process. If you need help with that, please contact us. In the patches department, there's a piece of software that WordPress users use called Jetpack. It's pretty popular. It's got about 27 million installations, and it's got a bunch of bugs, which they patched. That's good. The nice thing for Jetpack is they upgraded 101 different versions of Jetpack, going back to, I don't know how far back, but I know one of the bugs goes back to 2016. So if you're hosted at WordPress, they push the patch to you. If you're not hosted at WordPress, you're on your own. So now would be a good time to patch. In the legislative and legal department, the EU still wants to implement a massive invasion of privacy surveillance regime. We only thought that the EU understood privacy, but that's only when it comes to companies, not when it comes to the government. And so what they want to do is, in the name of protecting the children, which of course everything is in the name of protecting the children, they want to throw privacy away, eliminate messaging encryption, and have vendors go off and scan every message, billions of messages a day, looking for something which they can hang you with. Now, legitimately, right, there's sexual predators out there, but what's going to happen is the smart ones are going to figure out a way to go further underground to make it more difficult to find. And this is not really going to stop anything, but it will destroy privacy. The legal counsel to the European Council said that it is their opinion this law would be illegal, which won't stop anybody from implementing it. It will certainly cause the European Union to get sued, but that just helps the economy because lawyers are underpaid and underserved. So we need to throw more money at the lawyers. Some platforms have already said that if this law gets implemented, then they're just going to block EU users from using their software. Other platforms just, basically are greedy, and they'll say, well, whatever it takes to make a buck, we'll do that. We don't really care about users' privacy anyway. Next, Brazil has arrested the hacker tied to the FBI InfraGard breach and also the National Public Data breach. National Public Data was the 3 billion record breach from a month or two ago. What happened was apparently he bragged. And one of the things he bragged about was that he hacked CrowdStrike, which that's not a good thing to do, to go off and brag about hacking a security firm. Kind of got them a little bit mad. They figured out who he was. They told the police, and the police made him a guest at the Crossbar Hotel. So he is now in custody. Moral of the story, if you're going to do illegal things, don't brag about it on a public forum. In the breaches department, there is a healthcare maybe, still, I don't know, healthcare revenue management firm called Griffin that helps doctors and hospitals navigate the maze of insurance payments and getting paid by customers and all that. They were hacked and lost data to the tune of 393,000 patients. But don't worry, because they say it wasn't their fault, not our fault. It was the fault of a partner whom they are not labeling who that is, who got unauthorized access to Griffin's data, including all kinds of, protected health information. This will obviously all come out in lawsuits, but right now we don't know who it is. Next, the hacking group Intel Broker said they broke into Cisco on October 10th. So that's pretty recent. And within a few days, we're bragging about it on the dark web. And, in their case, the bragging is about trying to sell it, right? Make money. So that's why they're bragging about it. Amongst the data that was stolen was source code, not good. Hard-coded credentials. Cisco has just got a horrible track record. It seems like every month they say, oh, we found another hard-coded credential. The hard-coded credentials, certificate, keys, confidential documents, API tokens, storage buckets. The hacker also claims to have stolen source code from Verizon, AT&T, British Telecom, Bank of America, Barclays, Microsoft, Liberty Global, and others. So this is a high-intensity hack. The data is now for sale. They do have a long track record. So if they're saying they did it, they probably did. Of all of this, obviously losing source code is not great, but the secrecy of source code should not be a security feature. But losing things like security keys and hard-coded credentials, that's not good. And that will cause Cisco to get sued, almost guaranteed. Next. God. Radiant Capital, which is a crypto lending project, was exploited again, this time for at least $50 million. This is the second time in less than a year. And I keep telling people, it's software, it has bugs, and when you tie bugs and money together, hackers are really motivated. Some attacker apparently gained access to some of their private keys, which allowed the hacker to go off and change smart contracts in a way that he or she got the money. Not so great. Next in the hacks, 3 medical practices. This is there's so many of them, we just kind of group them together. Lost data on 740,000 patients. This is Omni Family Health, Tri-C Medical Center, and New York Plastic Surgery. Combined, as I said, almost 750,000. Omni said they found out that the data was available on the dark web, and they immediately initiated an investment. Boy, you can't get anything past them. When they found that their data was for sale, they decided they ought to go look into it. The data obviously included healthcare information, so this is the HIPAA breach. Tri-City, on the other hand, discovered the breach a year ago, and they just announced it. And several class action law firms said they're already investigating. And the healthcare industry is under attack, and they're not really doing much about it. The fines are minimal. Takes years and years, 4 or 5 years. And, legal fees are probably more than the fine. So they're not going to do much about it, but, whatever. That's the way we want it. So researchers say, interesting, in a report released, they went off and looked at what business leaders said their perception of their own security was. And then they went off and looked at what their practices were by asking specific questions related to, multi-factor authentication or whatever. And they basically discovered that, people were, shall we say, a tad bit optimistic that they think their security is good when really is pretty lousy. So that's kind of interesting. Not a big surprise in the grand scheme of things. Partly that's because people don't want to admit their security is horrible, and partly because they figure if they stick their head in the sand, maybe it won't happen. Along with that, Tenable Security says that 74% of their customers, and these are people who are paying Tenable for security services, they're the guys that are probably in better shape than a lot of people. 74% of their customers have publicly exposed storage and misconfigurations. In the first half of this year, 38% of the organizations had at least one cloud workload with a critical vulnerability, highly privileged, and publicly exposed. So, if these are the guys who are kind of leading the charge because they're paying Tenable a bunch of money, you can imagine what the rest of it's like. Next, is your DNA going to be sold? It turns out that, about 15 million people trusted 23andMe with their DNA data. That could be a mistake. The company is in serious financial trouble and might need to sell assets. Well, what asset do they have? Well, the only thing that they have that's really worth anything is your DNA. There's kind of some controls on that, but pretty much they can do whatever the hell they want with it. So if you gave them your DNA, it's probably going to be on the market soon. And then in the security news roundup, North Korea, has been using fake IT workers to get money and steal data. Now what they're doing is they added another phase to this, which is they are exploiting the companies they stole the data from. Next, OpenAI is confirming and talking about, which is nice, how attackers are using their ChatGPT tools to write malware. Not a big surprise that hackers are doing that, but the report's kind of interesting. Microsoft has admitted that it lost about a month's worth of customer security logs due to a software bug, and the September Veeam backup software patch that hopefully everybody has deployed, but maybe not, is now being exploited. And there's a new family of attacks on both Intel and AMD trusted execution environments, which is kind of supposedly the most secure part of the chip. So that's not great. Can't help laughing about some of this stuff, but geez, not great. So with that, if you have data in the cloud and your level of confidence matches that 74%, but now you're wondering, well, maybe being overconfident, well, let's take a look and see what we can find. Until next time, thanks for listening and stay safe.